The meeting room was huge. Its walls were made of some kind of clear crystal that showed the stars outside. Jisoo Kim sat at the human table and tried not to stare at the aliens around her. 6 months ago, she was just a Marine. Now she was Earth's cultural ambassador to the galaxy. "This is still crazy," she whispered to Minho Park, who sat next to her. He was looking at his tablet, checking notes about human sports. "Tell me about it," Minho whispered back. "Last year I was just explaining why fighters tap out on TV. Now I'm explaining human culture to bug people and living crystals." Yuna Choi, their lead diplomat, shot them a look that said, "Be quiet." She was nervous too, but she hid it better. Today was important. The Galactic Council wanted each species to share their culture. It was supposed to help everyone understand each other better. Ambassador Veltar stood up at the Crystal People's table. He was tall and thin, like a walking piece of clear glass. Light moved through his body in slow waves. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "We shall begin with combat traditions," Veltar said. "Each species will show how they resolve conflict. We, the ethereals, will demonstrate first." The lights in the room dimmed. 3 ethereal aliens moved to the center of the room. They began to glow with soft blue light. Then they started to dance. But it wasn't really dancing. They moved their arms and the light followed. When one alien pointed left, light shot across the room. When another spun around, the light made spirals in the air. They were fighting, but it looked like art. "Beautiful," Yuna said softly. The other aliens nodded and made approving sounds. The dance fight lasted 5 minutes. When it ended, the ethereals bowed. No one was hurt. No one even touched anyone else. "That is how civilized beings settle disputes," Veltar said. "Through beauty and skill, not crude violence." Commander Crix clicked his way to the front. He looked like a giant ant that learned to walk on 2 legs. His 4 arms moved as he talked. "The Hive worlds agree," Crix said in his buzzing voice. "Watch our method." 20 small insect-like aliens marched into the room. They moved exactly the same way at exactly the same time. When one raised its right arm, they all raised their right arms. When one stepped left, they all stepped left. They split into 2 groups of 10. The groups faced each other. Then they began what looked like a very strange dance battle. But every move was perfect, every step was the same. It was like watching 2 computers fight. "Precision," Commander Crix said proudly. "Perfect coordination, no wasted movement, no random violence." The other alien species clapped and buzzed and made happy sounds. Each group showed their combat style. All of them were careful and clean and pretty to watch. Finally, it was humanity's turn. Jisoo stood up. She felt all the alien eyes looking at her. Some of the aliens were already smiling. They thought they knew what was coming. "Humans solve conflicts differently," Jisoo said. She pressed a button on her tablet. A big screen appeared in the air above them. The screen showed an old Roman arena. Gladiators fought with swords and shields. Blood flew. Men screamed. The crowd cheered for more violence. Some aliens made disgusted sounds. Others looked shocked. "This is from our past," Jisoo explained quickly. "Humans used to settle things this way." The video changed to show boxing matches from the 1900s. 2 men punched each other until one fell down. Then it showed wrestling matches. Big men threw each other around. Ambassador Veltar made a sound like breaking glass. It might have been laughing. "How primitive," he said. "Actual physical contact. Actual pain. How do you learn anything from just hurting each other?" Commander Crix's antenna twitched. No strategy, no coordination, just hitting. Other aliens began to whisper to each other. Jisoo heard words like barbaric and savage and undeveloped. Minho's face turned red. Yuna looked embarrassed. But Jisoo kept her marine training. She stayed calm. "These are old examples," she said. "We've grown since then." "Of course you have," Veltar said in a voice that didn't sound like he believed it. "All species eventually learn better ways." An alien that looked like a living tree spoke up. "Perhaps humans could learn from our examples. We could teach you more civilized approaches to conflict." More whispers. more barely hidden laughs. Jisoo felt anger building in her chest. These aliens thought humans were just dumb animals who liked to fight. They thought human combat was simple and stupid. Actually, she said, I have an idea. The room got quiet. You all showed us your combat traditions, Jisoo continued. What if we have a cultural combat demonstration? Each species shows their highest form of combat, their best example. The aliens looked interested. Excellent idea, Veltar said. We could each demonstrate our most advanced techniques. The Hive Worlds accept this challenge, Commander Crix buzzed. Other aliens agreed quickly. They were excited to show off. Humans will participate as well, of course, Veltar added. Though we understand if your methods are not as refined as others. There it was, the insult wrapped up like a gift. Jisoo smiled. It was not a nice smile. We'd be happy to show you our highest form of combat, she said. Our most advanced techniques. Wonderful, Veltar said. We shall schedule this for next week. Humans will present last naturally. The meeting ended. The aliens left, still whispering and laughing about primitive human violence. When they were alone, Minho turned to Jisoo. Please tell me you have a plan, he said. Yuna looked worried. Jisoo, we can't show them military combat. That might scare them or make them think we're dangerous. Jisoo's smile got bigger. Don't worry, she said. I know exactly what we're going to show them. And they're going to love it. She pulled out her phone and started typing a message to Earth. Minho, what's the biggest UFC fight happening next week? Minho checked his tablet. His eyes got wide. Oh, he said. Oh, this is going to be good. 1 week later, the demonstration room was packed. Every alien species in the Galactic Council had sent representatives. They all wanted to see the cultural combat demonstration. Jisoo Kim walked into the room with 2 new humans. Tai-Ho Lee was huge, even for a human. His shoulders were as wide as 2 normal people standing together. He was the UFC heavyweight champion, but he moved quietly and smiled at everyone he met. Are you sure about this? Tai-Ho asked Jisoo. These aliens seem pretty smart. What if they don't understand what they're seeing? They'll understand, Jisoo said. Trust me. Behind them, So-Young Han carried a camera and recording equipment. She was a sports journalist who had covered hundreds of fights. This is the strangest assignment I've ever had, So-Young said, explaining human combat to aliens who think we're cavemen. Minho Park joined them at the human table. He looked nervous. I've been watching videos of their demonstrations all week, he whispered. Jisoo, these aliens are really advanced. Their combat is like art and science mixed together. Good, Jisoo said. That just makes what we're showing them even better. Yuna Choi took her seat and checked her diplomatic notes. She still wasn't sure this was a good idea. Ambassador Veltar called for attention. His crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the room. Welcome to our cultural combat demonstration, he announced. Today we will see the highest forms of conflict resolution from across the galaxy. The ethereals went first, just like before. But this time their light dancing was more complex. 3 aliens moved to the center and began to glow. But instead of simple colors, their bodies showed pictures made of light. One ethereal showed a forest in his chest. Another showed a river flowing down her arms. The third showed stars spinning around his head. They moved toward each other slowly. This is the ritual of balanced truth, Veltar explained. Each fighter shows their argument through pure thought images. The most beautiful and logical wins. The forest met the river. The light pictures mixed and swirled. New images appeared. Trees growing by water, fish swimming between roots. It was amazing to watch. The star alien joined the mix. Now all 3 pictures became one big image of a planet with forests and rivers and stars above. The aliens stopped, glowing and bowed. Perfect harmony, Veltar said proudly. Conflict resolved through shared beauty and logic. The aliens in the audience made approving sounds. Some clapped. Others hummed in harmony. Commander Crix and his insect people went. Next, this time 50 of them marched into the center. They split into two perfect groups of 25. Behold the war of pure strategy, Commander Crix announced. The two groups began to move. But they weren't dancing like last time. They were playing some kind of game. When one group moved left, the other moved right. When one group crouched, down the other jumped up. It looked like the most complicated game of chess ever invented. Every move was answered by a counter-move. Every strategy was met with a better strategy. No violence, Commander Crix explained. No contact. Pure mental combat through perfect coordination. The game went on for 10 minutes. Finally, one group made a move that the other group couldn't answer. The losing group immediately laid down on the floor to show they had lost. Brilliant, said an alien that looked like a walking octopus. True military genius. More species presented their combat forms. The rock people showed how they moved mountains with their minds to build fortresses. The gas people became different, shapes to confuse their enemies without ever touching them. A species that looked like living water showed how they could read each other's thoughts during combat. They fought by predicting what their opponent would think before their opponent even thought it. Every demonstration was beautiful. Everyone was bloodless. Everyone showed incredible intelligence and control. Finally, it was humanity's turn. Jisoo stood up. Every alien eye focused on her. She could see some of them trying not to smile. Humans appreciate all these wonderful demonstrations, she began. Now we'd like to show you our modern combat sports. The screen above them lit up. It showed an Olympic boxing ring. Two men in protective gear danced around each other, throwing careful punches. Some aliens made bored sounds. The video changed to Olympic wrestling. Two athletes grappled and tried to pin each other down. It was skilled, but it was still two humans grabbing each other. An alien that looked like a giant flower petal spoke up. "This is your advancement," it asked. "Still just touching each other violently?" "At least they wear protection now," Ambassador Veltar said. His voice sounded amused. Commander Crix's antenna twitched. "I see no strategy, no elegance, just grabbing and hitting." The octopus alien waved its tentacles. "Perhaps humans could learn from our examples. We could teach you more. Evolved methods." Whispers spread through the room. The aliens were trying to be polite, but Jisoo could hear what they really thought. Primitive. Barbaric. Still so violent. Minho leaned over to Jisoo. "Maybe we should show them something more modern," he whispered. "Like mixed martial arts, or maybe just explain the science behind training?" Yuna nodded quickly. "We could talk about sports psychology, the mental aspects." But Jisoo was watching the aliens' faces. They had already made up their minds. They thought humans were just smart animals who liked to fight. She made a decision. "Actually," Jisoo said loudly, "those were old examples too. Would you like to see our current highest form of combat?" The room got quiet. "We have something happening right now on Earth," she continued. "A live demonstration of modern human combat. Sport." Ambassador Veltar's light pulsed faster. "Live, right now. The ultimate fighting championship," Jisoo said. "Our best fighters using our most advanced techniques." Tejo sat up straighter. Soyoung got her camera ready. "Oh, wonderful," Veltar said. "We would love to see how much humans have progressed." His tone made it clear he expected more of the same primitive violence. Commander Crix clicked his mandibles together. "Yes, let us see this ultimate fighting." Other aliens agreed enthusiastically. They thought they were about to get more entertainment from the amusing, violent humans. Jisoo smiled. "Soyoung, can you connect us to the main event?" Soyoung's fingers flew over her equipment. "Getting the feed now. It's the championship fight. Hyunwoo Nam versus Dongjun Silva." The screen above them changed. It showed a packed arena with thousands of screaming humans. In the center was an 8-sided cage. "What is that enclosure?" asked the flower alien. "That," Jisoo said, "is where the magic happens." The aliens settled back in their seats. Some brought out the crystal equivalent of popcorn. They were ready to be amused by more human silliness. They had no idea what they were about to witness. The screen showed the inside of a huge arena. Thousands of humans were cheering and waving signs. The noise was incredible, even through the speakers. Ambassador Veltar made a sound like tinkling bells. So many watchers for simple violence. How strange. Commander Crix clicked his mandibles. Look how excited they get about hitting. Very primitive emotional response. The other aliens nodded and made similar comments. Some had brought alien snacks. They were treating this like entertainment. From a zoo. So Young-Han stood up with her microphone. Before the fight starts, she said, let me explain what you're about to see. The screen split. One side still showed the arena. The other side showed files and statistics. Tonight's fighters, So-Young announced. Hyun-Woo the Hammer Nam, current. Heavyweight champion, 28 years old, college degree in engineering, speaks 4 languages, training for 15 years. The aliens looked at the numbers. Hyun-Woo was 6 feet 3 inches tall and weighed 240 pounds of pure muscle. But what caught their attention were the other numbers. Cardio training, 6 hours daily. Strength training, 4 hours daily. Technical drilling, 3 hours daily. Mental preparation, 2 hours daily. So-Young continued. That's 15 hours of preparation per day, said the octopus alien slowly. For how long? Asked Ambassador Veltar. Every day for 15 years, So-Young replied. And his opponent, Dongjun Silva, age 30, computer science degree, trained in 8 different martial arts, professional fighter for 12 years. Minho Park added more details. Both fighters have been preparing for this specific fight for 3 months. They studied each other's techniques, weaknesses, and strategies. The flower alien leaned forward. They study each other, like battle planning. Exactly like battle planning, Jisoo said. The aliens were starting to pay more attention. On screen, both fighters entered the arena. Hyun-Woo was thick and powerful, built like a walking wall. Dongjun was taller and leaner, moving like water. Note their different body types, So-Young explained. Hyun-Woo specializes in close combat and powerful strikes. Dongjun prefers distance fighting and grappling. They will try to force the fight into their preferred range. Range control, Commander Crix buzzed. That is, actual strategy. The Romang. Fighters entered the 8-sided cage. An official checked their gloves and mouth guards. What are those hand coverings? Veltar asked. Protection gloves, Taiho Lee spoke for the first time. To prevent broken bones in the hands. The goal is to test skill, not cause permanent damage. Safety measures? The tree alien sounded surprised. In combat? This is sport, Yuna explained. Controlled competition, not actual warfare. The referee gave final instructions. The fighters touched gloves in respect. Then they backed away from each other. The fight began. For the first few seconds, both men circled each other carefully. They held their hands up, watching, waiting. Boring, muttered, an alien that looked like living smoke. When do they start hitting? But So-Young was explaining what was really happening. Watch their feet, she said. Hyun-Woo is cutting off the cage, forcing Dongjun toward the wall. Dongjun is using footwork to stay in the center. This is distance, control, and positioning. The aliens looked closer. It was true. What looked like simple walking was actually a complex game of position. Dongjun threw a quick jab. Hyun-Woo slipped to the side, barely moving his head. Did you see that? So-Young asked excitedly. Hyun-Woo moved his head exactly 2 inches, just enough to avoid the punch, not enough to lose his balance. 2 inches. Veltar's light pulsed, faster. How is such precision possible? Training, Taiho said simply. Thousands of hours of practice. Hyun-Woo threw a low kick at Dongjun's leg. Dongjun lifted his knee and caught the kick on his shin, then immediately threw a counterpunch. Hyun-Woo ducked under the punch and grabbed Dongjun around the waist. Grappling exchange, Minho called out. Watch this. What followed looked like a wrestling match, but So-Young explained every move. Hyun-Woo has the underhooks, trying to take Dongjun down. Dongjun is using a wizard to defend. Now he's going for a Kimura grip on the arm. The aliens watched in growing amazement. Every move had a name. Every position had a counter. Every technique had been practiced thousands of times. Dongjun escaped and reset to standing. Both fighters were breathing hard, but their technique stayed perfect. "Remarkable," Commander Crick said quietly. "Every movement has purpose." The fight continued. Hyunwoo landed a hard punch to Dongjun's body. Dongjun bent over in pain but immediately shot forward for a takedown. "Pain tolerance," Taiho noted. "Dongjun is hurt but still thinking strategically." Dongjun got Hyunwoo to the ground. Now the aliens saw something they couldn't believe. On the Yuan ground, the fighters moved like they were solving a puzzle. Dongjun tried to get Hyunwoo's back. Hyunwoo defended by grabbing Dongjun's wrists. Dongjun switched to an arm attack. Hyunwoo rolled and escaped. "This is chess," the octopus alien whispered. "Physical chess. Each position leads to new positions," So-young explained. "They're thinking 3 moves ahead while someone is trying to choke them." Ambassador Veltar stood up from his seat. His crystal body was pulsing with rapid light. The mental capacity required. He started, then stopped. Hyunwoo stood up and helped Dongjun to his feet. They were both bleeding from small cuts, but they smiled and touched gloves again. "They respect each other," the flower alien observed. Even while fighting. The second round was even more impressive. The fighters adapted to what they learned in round 1. Hyunwoo started using different footwork. Dongjun changed his defensive strategy. "They're learning and adjusting in real time," Commander Crick said with wonder. Under physical stress and time pressure. In the third round, both fighters were exhausted. Their faces were marked with bruises and cuts, but their technique never broke down. Dongjun shot for a desperate takedown. Hyunwoo defended perfectly and caught Dongjun in a guillotine choke. "Watch Dongjun's reaction," Taeho said. Dongjun was caught in a submission hold that could make him unconscious. But instead of panicking, he calmly adjusted his position, controlled his breathing, and found an escape. "Impossible," breathed the gas alien. "He is being strangled but still thinks clearly." The fight went all 5 rounds. Both men were exhausted warriors by the end, but they had shown technique, strategy, heart, and intelligence that left the aliens speechless. When the final bell rang, both fighters hugged each other. The crowd went wild. The decision was announced. Hyunwoo won by a close margin. He helped Dongjun to his feet and raised his opponent's hand in respect. The arena screen went dark. The alien delegation sat in complete silence. Finally, Ambassador Veltar spoke. His voice was very quiet. "How many humans can fight like this?" Jisoo smiled. "About 2 million trained mixed martial artists worldwide. But this is just sport. You should see our military." Commander Crick's antenna stopped twitching entirely. "We may have underestimated your species," he said slowly. The octopus alien raised a tentacle. Could we learn these techniques?" That's when Jisoo knew humanity had their respect. The silence stretched on for a full minute. None of the aliens moved. They just stared at the empty screen where the fight had been. Ambassador Veltar was the first to speak. His crystal body pulsed with slow, thoughtful light. "The precision," he said quietly. "That fighter moved his head exactly the right distance to avoid damage. How many times must one practice to achieve such accuracy?" Taeho Lee stood up slowly. Even among humans, he was huge. But now the aliens looked at him differently. They weren't seeing a big primitive creature anymore. They were seeing a master of something they didn't understand. 10,000 hours minimum, Taeho said, just to learn the basics. Most fighters train for 20 years before they reach championship level. 20 years, Commander Crix repeated. His voice buzzed with something like awe. 20 years of daily preparation for sport? This is recreational combat, Yuna Choi explained. Humans do this for fun, for art, for the challenge of testing themselves. The octopus alien's tentacles writhed nervously. If this is your recreational fighting, what does your military combat look like? Jisoo Kim smiled. It was a cold smile. That's classified, she said simply. The aliens exchanged glances. Suddenly, every one of them was thinking the same thing. If humans could do this for sport, what could they do when they were actually trying to kill something? The flower alien spoke up. You said 2 million humans can fight at this level? Mixed martial artists, yes, Minho Park confirmed. But that doesn't count boxers, wrestlers, judokas, karate practitioners, kickboxers, Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialists. He started counting on his fingers. How many total? Veltar asked. So Young-Han checked her tablet. Active martial artists worldwide? Probably 50 million. Maybe more. The room went quiet again. 50 million, Commander Crix whispered. 50 million trained warriors on one planet. Oh, that's just the serious practitioners, Jisoo said casually. Most humans learn at least some fighting skills in school. Physical education classes, self-defense training, that sort of thing. An alien that looked like living metal spoke for the first time. Most humans? How many is most? Maybe 80% of the population, Minho guessed. Everyone takes gym class. Everyone learns basic wrestling, basic boxing, basic sports. The metal alien made a sound like grinding gears. 80% of 7 billion humans have combat training? Basic training, Yuna corrected quickly. Most of it is just for fitness and fun. But the aliens weren't listening to her corrections. They were doing math in their heads. 7 billion humans. 80% with some combat knowledge. 50 million with serious training. 2 million at professional levels. The tree alien's leaves rustled with nervousness. We should discuss the strategic implications of this information. Commander Crix's antennae were vibrating rapidly. The Hive World's Military Assessment Division needs to recalculate everything. But not all the aliens looked scared. Some looked excited. The octopus alien raised several tentacles. Could humans teach these techniques to other species? I would very much like to learn this. Mixed martial arts. Same here, said the gas alien, shifting into a more solid form. The mental discipline shown by those fighters was extraordinary. The way they adapted during the fight, the flower alien added. Learning and changing strategy while under attack. That could be useful in many situations. Taiho looked at Jisoo. She nodded. We'd be happy to share our knowledge, Taiho said. Martial arts are about self-improvement, not just fighting. They teach discipline, respect, physical fitness, mental toughness. Mental toughness, Veltar repeated. Yes, that fighter who was being choked. He never panicked, never stopped thinking. How is such mental control possible? Practice, Jisoo said. We put ourselves in stressful situations over and over until we learn to stay calm. You deliberately stress yourselves? Commander Crix asked. For training? Of course, Soyoung said. How else would you learn to perform under pressure? The aliens looked at each other. This was a completely foreign concept to most of them. Their combat forms were designed to be beautiful and stress-free. The metal alien spoke again. This explains much about human psychology. Your species seeks out challenges instead of avoiding them. We get stronger by facing difficulties, Minho explained. It's how we've always been. Ambassador Veltar stood up. His light was pulsing in complex patterns now. I owe humanity an apology, he said formally. We judged your combat traditions as primitive. We were wrong. What we witnessed today shows a level of physical and mental sophistication that rivals any species in the galaxy. Commander Crix clicked his agreement. The Hive Worlds also apologize. We confused complexity with advancement. Your fighting methods may appear simple, but they require incredible skill. Other aliens nodded and made sounds of agreement. We would like to formally request, Veltar continued, a cultural exchange program. We want to learn from human martial arts, and perhaps we could share our techniques with you as well. Jisoo looked around the room. Every alien was leaning forward, interested and respectful now. I think that could be arranged, she said. The tree alien rustled excitedly. Could Master Taiho visit our homeworld? We have warriors who would be honored to train with him. I'd like that, Taiho said with a genuine smile. Commander Crix approached the humans. The Hive Worlds would like to invite human trainers to work with our military. We may have been overconfident about our own capabilities. Jisoo nodded. We'll discuss it with Earth Command. As the meeting broke up, aliens crowded around the humans. They wanted to know about training methods, about diet and conditioning, about the mental aspects of fighting. So-young was surrounded by alien journalists wanting to know how to cover combat sports. Minho was explaining the scoring system to a group of confused but fascinated diplomats. Ambassador Veltar approached Jisoo privately. "A personal question," he said quietly. "If this is what humans are capable of in sport, should the galaxy be concerned about human military potential?" Jisoo looked at him for a long moment. "Humans prefer peace," she said finally. "But we're very, very good at war when we need to be. The UFC fighters you saw tonight? Most of them would barely qualify for basic military training." Veltar's light dimmed thoughtfully. "I see. The Ethereal Confederation will be adjusting our threat assessments and our diplomatic approach." "Good," Jisoo said. "Mutual respect makes everything easier." As the aliens filed out, they were no longer whispering about primitive human violence. Instead, they were discussing training schedules, wondering if their own species could learn human techniques, and talking about the incredible mental discipline they had witnessed. Yuna joined Jisoo as the room emptied. "That went better than expected," she said. Jisoo watched the last alien leave. Commander Crix was still clicking excitedly to his assistants about requesting human military advisors. "Humans have been underestimated before," Jisoo said. "It never ends well for the ones doing the underestimating." Tejo packed up his gear and grinned at them. "So, who wants to help me design a training program for aliens? I think we're going to be very busy." As they walked out of the diplomatic station, Jisoo reflected on how the day had gone. The aliens had come in thinking humans were barely evolved apes who liked to hit things. They were leaving with a completely different understanding. Humans weren't just warriors. They were artists, strategists, scientists, and philosophers who happened to be very, very dangerous when they needed to be. And most importantly, they now knew that what they had seen was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were really capable of. The universe had just gotten a lot more interesting.